If you're looking to increase your mileage on trails so that you can see more country or tackle trails you previously thought impossible, then you found the right video. In this video, we're gonna be talking about hiking the perfect 20-mile day and how you might be surprised to find out it's easier than you think if done right. On this channel, you've seen us conquer some pretty gnarly hikes. Last year alone, we did not one, but two 100-mile hikes in less than 5 days for each of them. From sections of the Appalachian Trail to the Uinta Highline Trail, which the documentary is coming soon, so make sure you're subscribed, we've done some pretty serious mileage. So what's our secret? Are we just really naturally athletic? I can speak from my perspective at least, and that's no. So how do we do it? Stay tuned. First, I'm going to break down what a 20-mile day entails, and then I'm going to give you some tips to make this even more of a breeze. Now, this concept first came onto my radar when I read a book years ago from Mike Cleland called Ultralight Backpacking Tips. In there, he talked about the idea of a 20-mile day and how to make it a breeze. I've since taken that, applied it to my own hikes, and later this became the framework of how all Outdoor Vitals trips are handled, especially when we need to be covering over 20 miles a day. Here's what a 20-mile day looks like in the backcountry. First, we wake up early. We typically get up when the sun rises at 6:30 in the morning. We quickly gather together our gear, we hydrate, and we may slam a quick bar to get a few calories in, but we're not having our full breakfast. Plan on hiking at least 1 hour before you break for breakfast. This will get you at least 2 miles down the trail. And for the sake of this outline, we're going to assume that you're hiking at a speed of 2 miles per hour. Now, many of you will be able to hike a little bit faster than this, and we'll come back to that later. Now it's time to take a 20 to 30 minute break to hydrate and fuel up with a nice breakfast. Here's our first tip. A lot of backpackers will have their breakfast and then hike 4 to 5 hours until lunchtime before stopping again. By taking more small but more frequent breaks, you can actually get more miles done throughout the day with less strain on the body. And you can get ahead of injuries such as a blister that may be coming on. You may be able to prevent that entirely instead of getting the blister by the time you stop for lunch. Okay, it's time to hit the trail again. From about 8:30 until 10:30, we're going to continue to hike, allowing us to get 4 more miles completed. Now we're going to stop for another 20 to 30 minutes. Many of you can feel like this may be too early of a break, but remember, we're trying to be proactive. Hydrate, eat some calories, raise those legs in the air, and do a little bit of stretching. My second tip is that whenever possible, plan your breaks around water stops. This allows you to optimize your time. If you have to stop 30 minutes early or 30 minutes later, it can be well worth that effort. Okay, it's time to hit the trail again for another hiking block. We're gonna hike for an hour and a half until 12:30. That means we'll get another 3 miles in, totaling 9 miles on the day before we stop for lunch. You're well on your way to your 20-mile day, so take an hour-long break. Get some good food in you, lounge around, and take in some good views. At 1:30, it's time to hit the trail again. Hike for another 2 hours until 3:30. You'll now be at 13 miles on the day. Take another 30-minute break here to work out any physical soreness, to get some fuel in you, and as always, hydrate. After a nice rest, we hike from 4 till 5:30, putting us at 16 miles on the day, and then we stop for dinner. You may be tempted to push on at this point, but pushing on will create a calorie deficit. Take a 60-minute dinner and enjoy some great views. A key takeaway here is if you stop for camp at this point in the day, you often get focused on setting up your camp and then making dinner later, which means you're going to bed with a very full belly. It's much better to eat on time and then let a few closing miles on the day help you digest your food. At about 6:30, it's time to close out the last 4 miles of the day. Now, these last 4 miles are at the time that we call the golden hour. Wildlife is out, the sun is casting a beautiful glow on the entire landscape. It's not overly hot or cold. These last hours will be your most memorable of the entire day. By 8:30 p.m., you should have crossed the coveted 20-mile mark. Congratulations. Now it's time to find a cozy little spot to drop a minimalist camp. By 9 o'clock, you should be able to crawl into that tent and have 9.5 hours of rest before you start the next day's journey. Now, I do have to give you a warning here. Many of you guys might be thinking, well, I can hike 3 miles per hour. That gets extremely difficult in practice when you're doing 20 miles. If you're not in great shape, have well-planned water stops, are not in a big group that might take extra stops or random stops, or take longer to get back on trail, or you're not hiking in extremely flat country. It's much more realistic to plan on 2.5 miles per hour. This pattern of hiking for an hour or two, taking a break, hiking for another hour or two, and taking a meal break is a great way to decrease stress on the body and take in some great views rather than being stuck at a less than stellar campsite. With this system, even if you don't do a full 20 miles, it can significantly increase your mileage from where you're at. Stick to the schedule, and I bet you get another 5 miles in your day without a hint of increased perceived exertion. I know that's what it did for me. Now, there are a few other bonus tips that can make these miles go by even smoother. Number one is train ahead of time. That will especially help when you're doing this day after day to make sure you're not getting overly fatigued and struggle a few days into this schedule. Number two, pack ultralight. That includes your shoes as well. An ounce on your foot can be pounds in your backpack, and pounds in your backpack aren't going to help you either. So pack as light as you can. Tip number three, during those breaks, make sure you're stretching out and raising up your feet. Raising up your feet can really decrease swelling and give them a very fresh feel when you stand back up. And number four, and the most important one of all, don't allow yourself to go into a calorie or hydration deficit. These can be trip ending or severely take you off schedule. Take care of these proactively during those breaks. I promise you that this can change your life in backpacking, allowing you to go more and experience more. It may even give you the confidence and ability to go accomplish one of your dream hikes that you have yet to do. Speaking of dream hikes, if you want to accomplish a dream hike, you should really look into joining our 100-mile challenge from Outdoor Vitals. Now, registration is closed for this year, but you can stay on the lookout for next year's registration, where we have a framework and you actually do this challenge alongside me and the rest of the OV team. There's great swag, a training framework, and a great community of hikers that you can interact with there. If you're too late for this year, then go ahead and join the Outdoor Vitals membership and you can keep it on your radar for next year. Tell us about your biggest hiking day down in the comments below, and make sure you are subscribed to the channel. If you want more details on the 20-mile hiking framework, you can see that in a podcast that I recorded with Tyler, which we'll link right up here. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys out on the trail.